Here we have a SAT math question. Okay, let's go to the information. The function g is defined by g of x equals to c times square root of x positive d, where c and d are constants. In the xy plane, the graph of y equals to g of x passes through the point 16, 0, and g of 36 is less than 0. Which of the following must be true? Okay, so there is a function given over here that is g of x equals to c times square root of x positive d, and also there is an information that is y equals to g of x. So we can replace this g of x by y. So then we get y equals to c times square root of x positive d. And the question says that the graph of the function y equals to g of x passes through the point 16, 0. Since the graph of this function passes through this point 16, 0, we can plug in this point into this function over here. That is, we have to plug in the x coordinate 16 for x over here and the y coordinate 0 for y over here. Okay, let me finish plugging in. So we can plug in 0 for y and c times square root of for the x coordinate is 16. So that we can plug in for x over here. Positive d, then I'm getting 0 equals to, so the evaluation of square root of 16 is 4 times c is 4c positive d. Okay, so I'm getting an equation in terms of c and d when I plug in this point 16, 0 into the given function. Okay, there is another information that is g of 36 is less than 0. Okay, let me write that one over here. That is g of 36 is less than 0. Okay, already we know that g of x equals to c times square root of x positive d. To get g of 36, what I need to do is I have to plug in x equals to 36 over here. Then I'm getting c times square root of 36 positive d less than 0. So the evaluation of square root of 36 is just 6. So we get 6c positive d less than 0. Okay, so now I've used the two information, that is a point and the inequality. So when I use the point 16, 0, I get an equation over here that is 0 equals to 4c positive d. And when I use this information, I'm getting an inequality. Okay, when I go over the options, in option C and option D, C and D are related in an inequality. So in option C, we have C greater than D. In option D, we have C less than D. Okay, now what we can do is we can solve either for C or D in this equation. So once we get value for one of the constant, that we can plug in into this inequality, so that I will be able to link, we'll be able to let C and D in an inequality. So we might decide whether option C or option D is correct for this question. Okay, so for that, I think easily we can solve for D in this equation, because this D has a coefficient of 1. Okay, to solve for D, what I need to do is I have to subtract 4c from both sides of this equation. So when I subtract 4c from both sides of this equation, I'm getting negative 4c equals to D. Okay, now what we can do is we can plug in this negative 4c for this D over here. Then I'm getting 6c negative 4c less than 0. So simplification of this one is 2c less than 0. Then we divide both sides by 2. This 2 will cancel out. I'm getting c is less than 0. Okay, now I got I got an inequality for c, that is c is less than 0. When c is less than 0, so we can understand that c is a negative value. Okay, now let's understand about the value of d. So when I plug in, already we know that c is a negative value. When I plug in a negative value for c over here, already there is a negative value multiplied. That is negative 4 multiplied by c. So when a negative 4 is multiplied by a negative value, that is negative times negative will become positive. So that is d has to be greater than 0. That means d has to be positive. Let me write over here. Okay, now I don't have the exact values of C and D, but I know that D is positive and C is negative. So always a negative value is less than positive value. That means the negative value C has to be less than positive value D. So we find that C less than D in option D. So option C cannot be correct. Okay, so for the work what I've done, so I get to know that option D can be correct for this question. Anyways, we have to verify the other two options are A and B. Okay, now to verify the option A, let me consider the option we have, that is g of 0 equals to 36. So I'm just taking the result in option A. G of 0 means I just have to plug in 0 into this function. So on the right side, I also have to plug in 0 for x over here. Then I'm getting, so when I plug in 0 for this x, it will become 0. 0 times c will become 0. So finally, g of 0 is equal to just d. So we get d equals to 36. Okay, already we know that d is a positive value, and here we get d is equal to 36. Even though 36 is a positive value, I do not know exactly the value of d is 36, because I don't have enough information to decide the exact value of d. So option A cannot be considered as correct, because we get a positive value for d, but we don't have enough information to calculate the exact value of d. So I'm not sure 36 is the exact value of d. So I cannot decide that option A can be correct. So we can reject option A. Okay, now let's go to option B. So that is g of 0 equals to negative 36. Already we have evaluated the value of g of 0, that is d. That is g of 0 means we have to plug in 0 for this x, and for this x, then we get d over here for g of 0. So d equals to negative 36. So in our calculation, already we know that d is a positive value, but here we get d equals to negative 36, that is a negative value. So we can reject option B also. So the correct answer choice for this question is option D.